In addition to some big-name holdovers, the Hall of Fame ballot for the class of 2024 features a group of heavy hitters in year one of eligibility, including 3,000 hit club member Adrian Beltre. There's also three-time batting champion Joe Mauer, six-time All-Star Chase Utley, and one of the most beloved Mets of his era, seven-time All-Star David Wright. Jack has sent his ballot in. Is this your first public display of this ballot, by the way?
This is the first time we're revealing it publicly.
The big reveal. Now, I know one name that's on your ballot because you've told me this numerous times. You thought Adrian Beltre was a slam dunk first ballot Hall of Famer, right?
3,166 hits, almost 500 home runs, an elite defender. Bob, I would actually like to hear the argument against him being a first ballot Hall of Famer. And there are some people who put their ballots out there who haven't voted for him, which I find shocking. But you're right. Beltre, absolutely on my ballot. He was one of the new names I added to my ballot. I had 5 holdovers in Beltran, Helton, Jones, Wagner, and Sheffield. Sheffield, of course, in his 10th year, so that's one we need to dig in on. And right in the middle of my ballot, Joe Mauer. 3 gold gloves, 3 batting titles as a catcher. He had over 2,100 hits. He won an MVP, retired at 35 because of concussion symptoms. But when I look at Joe Mauer, and I've had some heated debates with our head researcher, Jeff Quagliata, about this, Mauer's a first ballot Hall of Famer.
So Quags is a hater when it comes to Mauer?
No, I said we've had heated debates. He might not have picked him for the first ballot.
I look at Mauer and it's like a tale of 2 careers, you know, because once he left behind the plate, when he had the 3 batting titles, became an okay first baseman. He wasn't great. And I just go back to Mattingly. Why is Mattingly the one who is always the one that he just missed? I think Mauer's a Hall of Famer too, but I also think Mattingly is just because of the first 5-6 years of his career.
It's a great comp, and Mattingly, as solid a defender as Mauer was behind the plate, and then later became a better first baseman later in his career. Mattingly wins in the defense department because he was elite defensively. So it's a great argument, Michael, except as someone who has to fill out, let me find my ballot. It's in here somewhere. Anyway.
7, by the way,
as someone
10,
who has to
right?
fill out this ballot, this guy should be in because that guy's in. That's a tough argument to win. It's an individual case. I take a lot of time looking over all of these names, and some guys are easy to pick and some guys aren't as easy.
One guy that you didn't pick, and I'm curious about it, and I'm not questioning, David Wright had an unbelievable beginning to his career. Then the spinal stenosis, he was not the same guy. But when he was a player, before he got hurt, he is a Hall of Fame level talent. Did you consider him?
I did. David Wright, Chase Utley, and Bobby Abreu were all delicate decisions for me. I ended up going no on all of them. It doesn't mean I'm always a no in the future, especially Abreu. You got to look at Abreu's numbers sometimes. I mean, OPS 870, 2,500 hits, almost 300 homers, almost 500 stolen bases. He was a guy who walked almost as much as he struck out, so I think he's somebody who deserves a lot more consideration. I fault myself and other people on the ballot, but since I brought up the walk strikeout thing, I want to talk about Sheffield because it's his final year on the ballot. And when you look at the tracker that is on social media because of not Mr. Tibbs, Sheffield's right there. He's right at around 75%. But guys, our researchers and our statisticians tell us that those numbers right there always go down. So I wonder what's going to happen with Sheffield. I came to him late on my ballot. I know why some people won't vote for him. The numbers are Hall of Fame numbers because of his connection with Barry Bonds. That's one of the reasons that he is held off. He worked out with Barry Bonds in the offseason. I would advise people to read an article that Bob Nightingale did in USA Today.
I read that.
Where Sheffield discusses his entire offseason with Bonds. They had a falling out. They didn't spend a lot of time together. I know there are some people who would say, well, saying that only happened one time is like saying you ate one potato chip. We covered Gary Sheffield. He was an honest dude. He was a blunt guy. He told you exactly how he felt. I hope that in his 10th year, he nudges across that 75% mark.
And he told Nightingale that he had a cyst in the back of his knee and he put the cream on it. And also, Victor Conte has come out and said that he did not buy any drugs from him. So it's kind of interesting. And I think if you look at his numbers are Hall of Fame numbers. They just are. And if you're not voting for him, then you are then persuaded against it because of him taking the cream. I also noticed that you didn't have Alex on the ballot. And it's kind of interesting. One thing that I don't like when the Hall of Fame voters say, well, you know what, it's a museum. Everybody has to be represented. Well, they're represented. It doesn't mean that they get a plaque. I think Alex is a really tough case. 696 home runs, but he was suspended for a year. It's hard to check that box.
Alex and Manny are really tough calls, as were Bonds and Clemens. I went 9 years without voting for Bonds and Clemens, and then in year 10, I gave them the vote because I thought if they get this unbelievable surge and they're at 74.7%, I would not sleep very well on my pillow at night thinking I was the guy who kept him out of the Hall of Fame. So I waited until year 10. I think that with Alex and Manny, you could see something similar happen.
You know, I don't have a vote because I only wrote for 7 years before I took the radio job. But my rule would be this. If you didn't fail a test and you weren't suspended, I'd have to vote for you. Now, Manny failed tests. Alex, you know, got suspended. He didn't fail a test, but he did get suspended for a whole year. I think those are the guys that I would probably have to push to the side. But, you know, Roger Clemens went to the top of the mountain and went to, you know, had lawsuits and won them. And he said, I didn't do it. Now, you can believe him or not, but nobody ever suspended him. There's no smoking gun other than what Brian McNamee said. I think that's a tough one. It really is.
Yeah, with Bonds and Clemens, and we've talked about this a lot on the show, and everything Michael said is accurate, but I look at other players and say, okay, who was, if you think there's another player who was suspected of steroids, who was his Brian McNamee? And that's part of the reason that they don't get the vote. And for Barry Bonds, who was his gentleman? And I'm blanking on the guy's name now, Greg... His trainer, who kept the entire ledger. Now I'm blanking on his name, but who was their person? Because we know that those guys had connections, and that's why I ended up going the route I did with them.
There's one other player on the ballot that I guess you could say it's the curious case of Carlos Beltran. The numbers are there to be a Hall of Famer. You've checked the box for him, but he's not there yet, though he is trending in a more positive direction.
It's clear that Carlos Beltran is being punished for his role in the sign-stealing scandal, and we worked with Carlos for a year at Yes, and I had some conversations with him about his role in all of that, and he has owned up to what he did during those times. But here's what I find curious. He's clearly being punished because to me, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. But Cora came back and managed after a suspension. Hinch came back and managed after a suspension. All of the other players got immunity. So Carlos Beltran is the one guy who has to pay for all of the sins of everyone else. And when you have conversations with guys that you work with, sometimes you can't reveal everything publicly that they told you. But I very easily checked the box next to Carlos Beltran's name. And some of that is based on the conversations we had about his role.
I will tell you this. If he gets punished for his role in that cheating scandal, it's really, it's not cool. It's kind of disgraceful because his numbers scream out Hall of Fame. But you take a look, I mean, is Altuve not going to be a Hall of Famer? I mean, they didn't take down their World Series banner. They didn't do any of that stuff. Is Bregman going to be a Hall of Famer? I'm sorry. Carlos Beltran could not be the face of that. The guy lost a Met job because of that. That's not enough punishment for him. He is a Hall of Famer. And I'm sorry to say this, there's a lot of cheating that goes around in baseball. Now, they were blatant about it. Obviously, they admitted it, and they didn't get punished because they had immunity. Bottom line, it wasn't all him. It wasn't all him. Alex Cora was one of my favorite people in baseball. He was there, and he has thrived as the Red Sox manager. I'm sorry, it can't be Carlos Beltran who serves the sentence for everybody.
2,725 hits, 435 homers, 837 OPS, absolutely destroyed in the postseason, 16 homers, 42 RBI. He should be in the Hall of Fame. One person who maybe contributed to someone not being in the Hall of Fame, Greg Anderson.
There
that was Barry Bonds' trainer. You guys did not have my back on that one, man.
I'd like to see you sink a little bit.
Some things are just, they're lost to time when the story gets told, right? It happens.